India and Pakistan. It's a rivalry older than your grandpa's favorite recliner, and way less comfortable. This conflict has been raging since 1947, the year of partition. That's when British India split, and these two nations were born. But one piece of land, Kashmir, became the ultimate bone of contention. It's like that one item in a will everyone fights over. Except this fight involves armies, nuclear weapons, and generations of bitterness. This isn't just a minor squabble. It's a deep, festering wound that has defined the relationship or lack thereof between two massive countries for over 75 years, influencing every aspect of their foreign and domestic policies. So, why Kashmir? Why all this drama? Well, it's a Muslim-majority region right on the border. Pakistan's founder, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, famously called Kashmir the jugular vein of Pakistan. That's pretty intense. India, on the other hand, considers Kashmir an integral, inseparable part of its territory. It's stunningly beautiful, sure, but it's also incredibly strategic. Think of it as the world's most contested piece of real estate, rich in water resources and symbolic value. This isn't just about land. It's about national identity, historical claims, and critical resources, making any form of compromise an uphill battle against deeply entrenched narratives on both sides. This dispute wasn't just a war of words. Actual wars were fought. The first one kicked off almost immediately, from 1947 to 1949. It ended with a UN-brokered ceasefire, and Pakistan ended up controlling about a third of Kashmir. But did that settle things? Not even close. There were more wars, like in 1965 and 1971, and then the Kargil conflict in 1999. It's a tragic cycle of violence and temporary truces. The line of control, which divides Kashmir, was meant to be a temporary measure. But it's become one of the most militarized frontiers on Earth, a symbol of enduring hostility. And because of this, both nations are always on edge, armed to the teeth. Pakistan's military, with its massive numbers, we're talking over 650,000 active personnel, sees Kashmir as an existential issue, a core reason for its significant size and budget. India, not to be outdone, has also been seriously investing in its military capabilities over the past decade, preparing for any eventuality. It's a classic standoff, a perpetual arms race fueled by decades of mistrust and the constant fear of the other side making a move. This drains precious resources that could be building schools or hospitals, but security concerns always seem to win. Fast forward to just recently, April-May 2025. Things got incredibly heated again. It started with a militant attack on April 22nd in Pahalgam, a tourist spot in Indian-administered Kashmir. 26 people were killed, mostly Indian tourists. India pointed fingers, saying the militants included Pakistani nationals. Pakistan denied this, naturally, and called for an independent investigation. But as usual, diplomacy took a backseat to firepower. This incident wasn't an isolated spark. It was tinder on an already smoldering fire, quickly igniting a chain reaction of violence that nobody truly wanted, but everyone seemed prepared for. What followed was 4 days of intense conflict. India launched missile strikes not just into Pakistan-administered Kashmir, but deeper into Pakistan itself, even hitting a mosque in Muzaffarabad. They called it Operation Sindoor, targeting sites linked to militant groups. Pakistan didn't just sit back and watch. They retaliated with their own shelling and drone attacks, claiming to have shot down 5 Indian jets. It was a dangerous escalation, a full-blown crisis between two nuclear-armed neighbors. Imagine the fear gripping ordinary people as missiles flew overhead, a stark reminder of how quickly rhetoric can turn into devastating reality. The human cost was, as always, heartbreaking. People like Nargis Begum, a 47-year-old woman. She died on the night of May 8th, hit by shrapnel as she and her family tried to flee their home near the line of control. Her 20-year-old daughter, Sanam Bashir, described that terrifying escape, saying it felt like the night of judgment. Think about that. Then there was Vihan, a 13-year-old boy killed by Pakistani shelling, and Nimra, a 16-year-old girl injured by an Indian missile. These aren't just names in a news report. These are shattered lives. Families destroyed by a conflict they have no control over. Beyond the deaths and injuries, the suffering was widespread. Entire villages had to be evacuated on both sides of the line of control, with families fleeing for their lives, sometimes caught in the crossfire. Shams-ur-Rahman's house in Pakistan-administered Kashmir was destroyed by shelling. The attack in Pahalgam decimated local tourism, the lifeblood for residents like Raiz Ahmad Bhatt. A fragile ceasefire was eventually brokered on May 10th, thanks to intervention by the US and others, pulling everyone back from the brink. But the devastation, the grief, and the trauma linger heavily in the air. Let's be brutally honest. This current path, it's a dead end. More fighting, more violence, more suffering. What's the end game here? We've been doing this for over 7 decades. Has it brought us any closer to a real solution? No. Tensions are still sky high. The body count keeps rising. It's like being stuck in a terrible movie on repeat. We desperately need a new script, a fresh approach, because the old one is clearly broken. Continuing down this road of animosity will only lead to more lost generations and squandered potential for both nations. So here's a thought, maybe a wild one. What if India and Pakistan formed an alliance, something like the European Union? I know, it sounds crazy given the history. But think about it. France and Germany, they fought some of the bloodiest wars in human history. World War I, World War II, millions dead. Yet today, they are key partners in the EU. They trade, they cooperate, their citizens travel freely. It wasn't an overnight miracle. It took immense courage and political will. But they chose peace and prosperity over perpetual conflict. Imagine the benefits if India and Pakistan chose a similar path. Open borders, not militarized ones. Trade and investment flowing freely between the two nations, creating jobs and boosting economies. Joint projects to tackle shared challenges like climate change, water scarcity, and energy needs. Imagine students from Lahore studying in Delhi, and entrepreneurs from Mumbai setting up businesses in Karachi. Cultural exchanges celebrating our shared heritage, not demonizing each other. The economic dividend would be massive, but the peace dividend, living without constant fear, would be immeasurable for millions. This isn't just about economic gains, as fantastic as those would be. It's about building a stable, secure, and prosperous South Asia. A region that can finally unlock its immense potential. It's about creating a future where our children and grandchildren don't inherit the same hatreds and fears that have plagued us for so long. Yes, it sounds idealistic, perhaps even naive, especially when tensions are so high. But every significant positive change in history started as an idea that seemed impossible at the time. The alternative, more of the same, is simply unacceptable. Now, the big question, who's going to make this vision a reality? Are we waiting for the politicians? Let's be real for a second. For many of them, this conflict is frankly useful. It's a reliable way to stir up nationalist fervor, to rally support, and to distract from other pressing domestic issues. National security is under threat. The enemy is at the gates. We've all heard these lines before. It's an old, tired playbook, but it often works, making bold peace initiatives politically risky unless there's overwhelming public demand for change. The truth is, certain powerful interests actually benefit from this status quo. Think about the massive defense budgets on both sides year after year. The arms manufacturers and military establishments aren't exactly lobbying for peace conferences. Hawkish rhetoric often plays well with certain segments of the population and the media, making it easier to win elections or maintain power. Proposing radical peace can be seen as weak or unpatriotic, a tough sell when fear-mongering is so deeply entrenched. It takes immense courage to challenge these narratives, a courage often lacking in the political arena. So, if we can't rely solely on the political class, then who does that leave? Us, the people. You, me, everyone who is tired of this endless cycle of violence and mistrust. We are the ones who have to stand up and say, enough is enough. We need to be the ones to champion this message of peace and cooperation. We need to talk about it with our friends, our families, our colleagues. Share these ideas. Make it a mainstream conversation, not a fringe fantasy. If we wait for the leaders to lead on this, we might be waiting forever. This is our call to action. Let's actively work to build bridges, not higher walls. Support peace activists and organizations working on the ground. Demand more responsible, solution-oriented journalism from our media, less jingoism and fear-mongering. Let's educate our children about our shared history and culture, not just the narratives of division and conflict. It's undoubtedly a long and difficult journey, but every monumental change begins with a single determined step. Let's amplify this vision of a peaceful, cooperative South Asia. Let's make hope louder than hate.